Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Liam Murphy. And if you like fantasy football or NFL best ball, you are in the right place. Today, we're going to be veering over to DraftKings, where I once won both their high stakes contests in the same year. This time, we're going to be playing their $20 tournament, $2 million to first. Absolutely insanity. If you missed it, I do have a fresh rankings update on the site for subs. Updated both DraftKings and Underdog rankings. Are DK rankings out yet? Yes, they are. You can find them at this link here. Rankings and site access is $100 for the year. So, our first streamed DK ones. DraftKings can be a little bit different than Underdog in many ways. One can be a little bit more Wild West as far as they have a bigger user base. So, this guy enters and just clicks the auto draft button. Well, welcome to DK, baby. Some people will draft whatever, their favorite hometown quarterback. I think all that stuff should be allowed. High-end drafts. In general, also, quarterbacks go higher, running backs go higher. So when you're drafting off my ranks, I definitely recommend for your earlier picks to tie break towards a running back, just because a lot of the wide receivers that we like, they go much higher on Underdog, and you can get those guys still late in drafts on DraftKings. Not to say I never build a zero running back team or anything like that, but yeah, typically want to get at least one running back through 5 rounds. It is very similar to Best Ball Mania on Underdog in the sense that it's quite top heavy. $2 million to first, $1 million to second. The final is twice the size, where it is roughly 1,091 people, I believe. Yeah, 1,021. $1,000 min cash. So you're not guaranteed your money back if you reach the finals. It's easier to reach the finals. My opinion is I like a little bit of a smaller final size, but I understand there's different strokes for different folks. 100 people are going to be making 10 grand or more. 50 people, 20 grand or more. 20 people, 50 grand or more. And 10 people, 100 grand or more, which all that sounds gravy right now, but it is a little bit of a gut punch to reach the finals. And, you get whatever, 20 grand for 36th, where first place is $2 million. So all that is to say that you should almost, we're going to go Lamb anyways. Bijan, maybe the prudent pick, but can't get over Lamb. Lamb's target upside, just monstrous. Last year's borderline 101. But as I was saying, yeah, any levers you think you can pull to do better in the finals, if you were to reach the finals, you should be doing in all top-heavy contests, which this definitely classifies as. Not the only contest on DraftKings, obviously. They got a lot of other best ball contests, but this is their flagship. The auto drafter rips off Derrick Henry, so maybe this guy has his rankings in there. I'm not sure. What's up, Uncle Fresh? Ripping the auto is a Chad move? Maybe. Opinions on how many running backs are being taken within the first 7 picks this year? Meaning, do you think the number is high or low that Barkley, Gibbs, Bijan, and GT is he's climbing to the 107. He's defensible there. I mean, I think it makes sense. Who could conceivably even join them? Maybe CMC if you get a positive health report. But, I mean, what's there not to like about Puka, Amon-Ra, Nico, Brian Thomas? Like, all these guys could be wide receiver 1 in football. So I get you like your running backs, but you got guys like Joe Mixon in the 5th, DeAndre Swift, Tony Pollard, Aaron Jones. There's a lot of running backs later in the draft that are going to project for a lot of volume. Let's rip Bucky. This room might be a little bit different than a normal DraftKings room just because there was only like 7 out of 12 when I went live. So can probably assume 5 people are watching that are in this room or so. And so maybe it won't be as running back heavy as a normal DraftKings room, but Bucky is in the same tier as an AJ Brown or Ladd. It is tough for me to pass on those wide receivers, though. Was in a draft last night on DK and Gene T went pick 2, and then you had the ... dots as if that's insane. That's totally normal to me, Luis. I would recommend, to think that's crazy kind of shows that maybe you don't have a perfect grasp of the game theory. And I would read this article, totally free on my site, about getting unique. And basically, if you think about this, if Gene T always goes at the 108 to 112, well, then he's very rarely paired with the players who commonly go at the 2-3 turn. He's very rarely paired with the players who commonly go at the 4-5 turn. So creating a unique combo is valuable in best ball. Your preference, if you have a choice, would always be to have a unique combo after ADP. For example, if I could have a Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb team, that is more valuable than me forcing the uniqueness. But I still want the uniqueness, right? Both because of easiness to get to the finals, where if I'm in a pod, a playoff pod, I would prefer to be the only person to have my combo of players. I don't want to be duplicated there. The quarterbacks go way higher on DraftKings, so let's take a quarterback. Not something I would usually quite do here, but yeah, I mean, they'll go at like the 1-2 turn, whatever. So this allows us not to have to force quarterbacks earlier in the draft, and roughly Josh Allen's value. As a Bills fan, you gotta get some Josh Allen, right? Otherwise, what are you doing with your life? But yeah, the uniqueness is valuable for the playoff pods in the sense that you don't want to be duplicated with folks. You want to have the easiest path you can to getting out of that pod, which unique combo allows you. And you also, if you reach the finals, that's where uniqueness really can pay, right? You're not competing with all 800,000 people in this contest or whatever it is. Obviously, right? You're just competing with 12 people and then 12 people and then 12 people and then 1,091. But still, right? Like one of the big reasons I won Best Ball Mania 2 is I had me and 9 others were the only people with Jamar Chase out of 160 people. Right? So, you can't just teleport yourself to the finals with the unique player, but there are levers you can pull to try to force it. Luis says, never thought of it that way. Now hearing you explain it makes so much sense. Yeah, I mean, I would really recommend you guys read this. This is an evergreen article. Yeah, I mean, Mixon, he's probably not too different than Josh Jacobs, Bucky Irving, Chase Brown, as far as like what his median projected points will be. If we include vibes, I would say, number one, he is almost certainly a bad person with the litany of cases in his past. Obviously, that doesn't matter for fantasy football production. And then also, he's older than some of these guys, right, which has some risk. And then they just fired their head coach. Let's do it. I've yet to draft Hampton this year, so let's get a weird wide receiver, RB, quarterback, RB start. Don't try this at home. But the Texans went and fired their offensive coordinator, Bobby Slowick, who was doing run, pass, which is like one of the worst things you can do in football as far as being predictable. Running on first, running on second, passing on third. It's very predictable. It's easy to defend. And so you would think that with the additions of Kirk and the 2 wide receivers they took in the draft, Jaden Higgins and Jaylen Noel, that they're going to be more pass happy. That's not necessarily a bad thing for Mixon. We don't really care about the unvaluable touches between, a 6-yard run here, 6-yard run there. If they pass more, maybe he scores more touchdowns. But, obviously if they're scoring 30-yard touchdown passes, Mixon is not getting points. I put a tweet out yesterday. Just some wise words I shared. That best ball is a quality game, not a quantity game. I advanced 50 of 150 teams, which in the DraftKings Millie Maker 2 years, no finals, no money. Which, by the way, your expected advance rate if you draft 150 teams is 25 teams into the playoffs. So I had 2 times the advance rate. I had a monster advance rate that year, 50 out of 150. Tet feels quite nice here. So does Smith. Like them both. Smith gives us the division correlation with Lamb. Tet is the one who I think will climb the most in ADP later. But we're going to go Smith. Smith's kind of a brand guy for me. He's been on several of my finals teams that have won money, including the DraftKings 21-20. And yeah, getting the division opponent with Lamb is nice. But, and then last year I advanced 20, like around 20, maybe it was 21, 22, 23. I don't remember, but below average, right? Again, 150 teams, your expected advance rate is 25. So I only advanced 20. People were trying to dunk on me mid-season. Oh, I'm so much better than you at best ball. People were literally like tagging me on Twitter. Oh, I'm advancing 40 teams. I'm advancing 35 teams. I'm advancing 75 teams. Well, guess what? That's not the game we're playing. The game we're, people want this to be a cash game that then will make them $2 million. That is not the game you are playing. Get that through your head. The goal is not just to advance every single team. The goal is to win the tournament at the end. And so obviously we all would like to advance as many teams as we can, right? But what I mean by it's a quality game, not a quantity game, is you would honestly, as far as like making money, you would rather have one team that is like top to bottom full of stud players than 50 teams that were propped up by the success of Saquon Barkley and Jamar Chase last year. But then they also had like Quentin Johnston. They had like, Elijah Moore. They had all these guys that like had okay years, but they're not really star players and they're not going to beat other star teams in the playoffs. Right. So for me, that usually means I want wide receiver firepower, right? When you have to beat other playoff teams, meaning other good teams, right? I want at least 3 to 4 wide receivers that can go for 30 points in a given week. I don't want to get there and be depending on Darius Slayton and Andre Yoshivas and, Wan'Dale Robinson and Adam Thielen and Jalen Tolbert and Amari Cooper and Michael. Like, I don't think that's the optimal way to reach the finals and then do well. Are you going to do the best draft picks by round for DraftKings on the site? Deshaun, we got a lot of articles coming down the pipeline. One of the ones I'm currently working on is just a depth chart for every single team, where I want to label how I view the depth charts, how the market views it and such, and give some color commentary there. I think I'm going to have a full player write-up at some point this year where I just write up every single player from ADP 1 to 240, and just say, not like this guy has a 7% Whopper, 35%, just like, here's my opinion on the player, and then have some like rating system of like green a go, yellow be cautious, or red slight fade. And then I did a write up in the pre-draft for my favorite picks by round, and maybe I'll do that for both sites later this year. Chris Olave and Devonta Smith, two guys who were 2-3 turn picks last year. So here's where I would play like the ADP game. It's like, I still like Jaden Reed, but the market clearly does not. So you can also sort by ADP and just kind of take my highest ranked player within that. But we're obviously going to go Shakir to stack with Josh Allen. You should be breaking ties really throughout the draft towards your stack. So especially late, right? Like if I have a Josh Allen team, maybe I'm more likely to take an Elijah Moore or Curtis Samuel. If I have a Joe Burrow team, maybe I'm more likely to take an Andre Yoshivas. If I have a Bo Nix team, maybe I'm more likely to take Pat Bryant. I'm pretty high on Rhino, but by the way, Rhino is a sick name. But yeah, I'll admit that the ambiguity is relatively high for whether he's going to be suspended. His health seems to be checking out. And I personally think that, obviously Worthy could take another step and be, who knows, he could be a first round pick next year. But what we saw from Rice to start the year, like we saw him be a first round pick in fantasy already. We saw that. Hollywood, I like Hollywood. He was pretty target dominant when he came back. He's very cheap, but I'm not going to let Hollywood Brown scare me off the talent of Rice. And best ball is a game where you simply occasionally need to embrace the risk of players, right? Like it's perfectly fine to do a draft where you just fade all the risky guys. It's also fine to do a draft where you pile on the risk, right? So it's like CMC, highly risky player, mega upside. Rice, risky player, mega upside. Addison, somewhat risky player, decent upside, right? Risky in the sense that suspension could be coming. Ayuk, somewhat risky, risky player, not healthy right now, big upside. So you're going to have to really choose that for yourself. But I personally think gambling on the upside is fine. Because he's like a 25 point per game player if he is that guy, Let's go Swift. Swift is really, with what we know right now, he's really not that different than Pollard. He's definitely a better pick than Brian Robinson with what we know right now, who I like as well, but that's a little rich. He's almost certainly a better pick than Caleb Johnson. And he's like a poor man's Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon averaged 18.8. Obviously, the PPR helped there. Swift down to 12. Pollard at 13. So I still think Swift could climb a little bit. Buying pieces of the Bears seems like something we want to be doing. And Yeah, that's an example of me just kind of like tie breaking it towards the running back on this site because pretty quick, Jordan Mason goes, Tyrone Tracy goes. Bears could sign Chubb, certainly. So if you don't want to be drafting Swift because Chubb could land there or Dobbins could land there, don't, right? But I'm not gonna fade every player that could be landed beside by Chubb or Dobbins. We don't even know what Nick Chubb has left, right? I know we're seeing him work out. We simply don't know what he has left, and we know what his track record is. Yeah, this is where the Swift pick feels good. Like Najee goes, Scatabo goes. Certainly going to get a wide receiver in here, only having 4. Egbuka, he's a player who goes way lower on DraftKings than underdog. I would build almost 0 teams at 3 running back on any site. 4 is probably the minimum there. Could it work? Sure, but I don't see the need. I mean, Trevor's definitely a winner of the draft. I've always liked Trevor. I thought he's very good. Don't get me wrong, guys. It's going to feel bad if you drafted Rice and he's, not a thing. But like in these games before injury, 20, 18, 32, quite possible the Chiefs are more pass happy. Maybe their defense got worse. Their O-line, I think, is going to be improved. And, I just don't. I know Worthy had some awesome games. Can we really take anything away from this blowout against the Eagles where they were just like forcing the ball deep repeatedly? No, I'm not going to, it's nice that he has big upside. We know that, right? And he would have had some bigger games if he didn't like step outside the sideline. But I simply think Rice is going to be a little bit more target dominant than Worthy. Worthy wins down the field, right? So that's nice as well. But yeah, I would be wanting pieces from good offenses with which Rice and Worthy both qualify. See, this is where like the Josh Allen pick feels pretty nice. Bryce Young goes at 114 for some reason with Adam Thielen. So some people just view the game differently. I think I'm just going to ignore everything and take Dak to go with Lamb. You simply like a mistake on DraftKings is to ignore quarterback and running back and just keep on taking what you think is the value at wide receiver or elsewhere. Like Darnell Mooney is my highest ranked player there by quite a bit. But if I don't want to get totally locked out at quarterback, I need to, I'm paying attention to the room. I see Field, Stroud, Lawrence, Purdy, Bryce Young go. Like, hello, this is my time to get my second quarterback. So feeling pretty good about the team. Relatively balanced team, a 2-3-5. Lamb, Smith, Olave, Shakir, Buka. When I have Josh Allen, I'm always stopping at 2 quarterbacks. Well, you never know, Rhino, right? Like, were the Commanders being viewed as an elite team? No, they weren't, right? But Jaden Daniels was awesome. So, wow, we might get Mooney anyways. See what this guy does. The thing about Scatabo is outside of him becoming the unquestioned RB1 of the Giants, like the Giants in all likelihood are going to be a bad team. So I don't know. Are we supposed to be taking these? Yeah, Mooney feels nice. Are we supposed to be taking these bad teams running backs that might not even have high volume so high? That's a no for me. Getting guys like Ibuka and Mooney a little bit later in the draft makes it feeling really nice to have like the Bucky, Hampton, Swift trio at running back. Quarterback's a position I typically want to play relatively flat, because there's a lot to like, right? Like, obviously, this tier of guys has a ton of dudes to like. From Baker, let's not include Bryce Young in that group, but from Baker down to like May, I could see all those guys putting up a top 5 season. So I want access to a lot of them. I don't want to be locking myself out and being like, it's only Jared Goff, it's only Caleb, it's only Kyler, it's only Love. I think Bryce Young could have a good year. He just, he shouldn't be. That takes a leap of faith to put him in this group of players. I mean, you never know, dude. Maybe he thought he was getting Steve Young. Well, an example of, like, I'm almost always overweight rookie quarterbacks, highly drafted rookie quarterbacks, simply because they go very late in the draft. This is a weird year, though, where Cam Ward is the only quarterback who got drafted high, and he's somewhat expensive, right? Like, but, the year CJ Stroud was an 18th, 19th round pick, 20th round pick, I took a lot of him. I also had a lot of Bryce Young. The Young didn't work out. The Stroud did. Welcome, Jets Drop Bombs. Are you the guy who makes those awesome hype tapes? Just bombs. Do you guarantee profit? I mean, I know this is a joke, but obviously not, right? These are top-heavy tournaments. I guarantee you're going to learn about best ball, and if you listen to my advice and draft relatively off my rankings, you're getting your money in good, but you can get your money in good and lose for many years in a row in best ball. That is the game we are playing. Thoughts on ETN? I think that whole backfield is extremely questionable. Yeah, Kincaid feels really nice. Getting the end of a tier at a tight end. God bless the man taking Hunter Henry and Bryce Young. Josh to go with Kincaid feels really nice. He's a better pick on a PPR side too, because Kincaid showed a lot of target volume. The real question is just how much is Buffalo going to pass this year? You can't take his DraftKings includes the playoff thing, so you can't really include that. But you need some big passing games. And the Bills have like 500 dudes right now. It's quite likely that everybody's going to be like 10 to 15% target share. Elijah Moore getting some, Curtis Samuel getting some, yada yada getting some. Do I do any weekly winners? No, that's not really a contest I'm interested in. We're going to do Goddard. Don't really know why Dallas Goedert's getting drafted after Kyle Pitts and Hunter Henry, but we will take that gift. I feel like relatively strong at tight end, having not taken any until the 12th round. Yeah, obviously, the more you draft a player, the more you're opening yourself up to downside, right? If you draft a player and they get hurt, that is going to hurt you, period. Yeah, I don't do weekly winners, Jets. It's just, not a ton of money to winning it and for the time commitment. I understand how it would be fun to some people, but I think it's totally leaning into variance is a personal, it's a personal thing, right? There are some years where I really lean into it and draft a lot of a guy. Last year, I was like 30% capped at like a player. I definitely faded players too, so it's not like I wasn't drafting with variance, but I was a little bit more spread out. These types of questions, Cam, I don't answer until the contests are full, and then I post my exposures. What's your strat at tight end this year? I do a mix. Obviously, want some of the elite guys. This range feels like the sweet spot of really nice value. And then I do some teams where I punt it off. Yeah, so Algier, definitely going to be our pick there. And that's an example where it's like, I'm really happy I got Bucky, Hampton, Swift early, because now after 14 rounds, every single running back that you kind of want is gone. Not that I don't like the guys, some of the guys left, but they all have ADPs like very late in the contest. So it's why you want to be breaking tides towards wide receiver early. What's good, Clay? Yeah, that's the kind of thing about weekly winners is like, if I want to just try to win 20, 30 grand in a week, why don't I just draft a battle royale or whatever? It would definitely be fun just to have 150 shots, though. But yeah, weekly winners, totally different contest. Also feels nice to get the upside of Dak when quarterbacks not with the same pedigree go within a couple rounds. So definitely going to tack on a third tight end. Not going to tack on a third quarterback unless some like random stack off happens. And from there, like, can pretty much just alternate running back, wide receiver, running back, wide receiver, running back, wide receiver. That'll give me a 2-7-9-2 or maybe a 2-7-8-3, something like that. Or a 2-6-9-3. Ford and Sampson, your guess is as good as mine as who's the RB2. I would give the edge to Ford, though. So Palmer's the stack, obviously. Let's do Legette. I don't really think Legette should go 70 picks after Adam Thielen. He gives me a division stack against Bucky and Ibuka, hoping to fall into some week 17 correlation. He was a first-round pick last year. Obviously, Tet is now there, but we are getting some division stacks in Tampa, Saints, Bucks, Atlanta, Carolina. You know, and these are the type of things you want to do before the schedule's released, is just hope to fall into some week 17 stacks. Definitely we'll be doing some drafters. Sprints, I don't, you know, maybe might do occasionally. I don't get the Godwin disrespect. Is it just injury related? Yeah, I think it's it's twofold. One, they're afraid he might be a little bit more hurt than we know with Ibuka being selected. They're also afraid that Ibuka is going to play the slot and they're going to push Godwin outside, which obviously Godwin's best in the slot. And so I don't really think I mean, I've seen Godwin fall to the 70s on multiple occasions on both sites. So I still have him ranked here, but you know, some of the stuff like a news report here or there can really change things. Let's go Jaylen Wright, division opponent of Josh Allen. I still think he's the RB2. Nothing to scream about his rookie year, obviously, but probably an Achane rolled ankle away from being a good player in fantasy football. I know you only draft 2 quarterbacks with Allen. Does drafting before schedule release change anything? For me, no, Drew. I do not stress bye weeks where you can still, the truth is you can still advance if you eat a 0. It cuts 20 points off your team. So, you know, the way advancing usually works in best ball is, yeah, occasionally it comes down to 20 points. But a lot of time, if you have like 2 or 3 league winners, if you had Jamar Chase last year, if you had Saquon, you'd be hard pressed not to advance, regardless of what you did. So you simply hope that, you know, Lamb is a top 3 wide receiver this year. Bucky's a top 3 running back. Hampton is a top 5 running back by the end. Olave's a value, whatever. And if I eat a 0 at a bye week, so be it, you know. Tight end, I definitely don't care about. That's like sacrificing 5 to 10 points. I took too much CEH, Elijah Mitchell, and Josh Palmer last year. Learned my lesson. Yeah, I mean, me and Leone were going back and forth about CEH. Not that I was gambling on the rookies. Not that that worked either. But the lesson here is that you should be very careful about going all in on guys who you assume are going to have volume, but are probably not that good. Right? Example, like Jalen Tolbert, we assume he's going to have volume. He's also maybe not that good. He could be a great pick. He could lose his job to Turpin. Could lose his job to Mingo, whatever. The Godwin one is just unlucky, right? You played well, you got unlucky. That happens. Let's get Chiggy with it. Okonkwo. Finished very strong to end the year. 8-10, 9-11, 5-7. And, you know, some chance he picks that up. There's really no wide receiver 2 for the Titans that you're currently excited about. Tyler Lockett, you know, so quite possible Chig. Maybe Cam Ward is a mega hit at quarterback. You know, Chig could be the thing. My team that won Best Ball Mania 2 had Josh Allen and Justin Fields. That was Justin Fields' rookie year, where he contributed, I think, 2 points to the roster the whole year. So basically, I won Best Ball Mania 2 with a 1 quarterback team. Hey, John, how much you take home for that? John said, watched you a ton last year. Just want to say thank you. I finished top 10 last year in the DraftKings flagship contest. What was that, John? Was that 100K? Congrats, brother. John, brother, you winning 100K with my advice? You got to throw me a YouTube membership. Come on now. Let's go Kendre. I still think Kendre is the RB2 for the Saints, former 3rd-round pick. Alvin Kamara, obviously, fragile. John, not alone, by the way. A lot of people that have won a lot of big contests shout me out. Are all of you going to win contests? No, obviously not, but we give good advice here. I mean, I would rank Hunt most likely to give you early season production. He's also most likely to be straight up cut. Yeah, Flournoy, the other Dallas wideout. If I have like a Bowers or McBride, I'm usually going 2 tight end. But the year I won the DraftKings 555, I had a Kelsey Njoku team, and my last pick was Trey McBride, who ended up winning me the contest. So Kendre Fragile. I mean, yeah, man, that's why he's available in the 18th round, right? But he also could be a league winner, right? So seems like a good deal to me. Okay. Let's get a wide receiver in the mix. I mean, you got to take some Mike Williams every once in a while. Mike Clay has a pretty bullish projection for him. You simply hope that he's healthy now. Tough call whether I want a 9th wide receiver or 7th running back. What percentage of your teams on DK do you think will be 3-6-8-3? I don't know, man. I don't really think that way where it's like I need 25% 3-6-8-3 and I need 35% 2-4-12-2 and I need 8%, it's just whatever happens in the room happens. 3-6-8-3 is obviously borderline optimal for scoring the most points weeks 1 through 17. Doesn't mean it's optimal for what you want to show up into the finals with. But it's a good baseline. If you guys missed it, I did update my rankings earlier today for both DraftKings and Underdog. Also, do me a favor, sub to the channel. Give out a lot of free EV. Don't ask for a lot in return. I mean, let's go Wicks. I understand they drafted Matthew Golden, but I simply think he's a talented guy. Didn't really come together last year. There's a chance he beats out Romeo Dobbs. I don't think he should be here in the 20th round. Could have done Turpin for the stack. Could have done Elijah Moore, Curtis Samuel for a stack too, but we won't like here. So the first team, Lamb, Bucky, Allen, Hampton, Smith, Olave, Shakir, Swift, Ibuka, Prescott, Mooney, Kincaid, Goddard, Algier, Legette, Wright, Chig, Kendre, Mike, and Wicks. We are in one more. Let me get it pulled up for you folks. How do you feel about Stephon Diggs? I mean, you always feel a little uneasy about a guy hurt. Definitely a vote in confidence in him for the team. So have him ranked higher than I did in pre-draft for mainly because he was very cheap in pre-draft. Not a guy I want to go all in on, but people just be saying things. There goes the Mike Clay invite to the channel. Thanks, dude. Just kidding. All right, pulled the 107. Always nice when people out themselves as having a little logo of a site. Do you ever look at who's in the lobby on DK to aim to draft in badgeless rooms? No, Jay, because I'm the shark. So I just draft. Welcome to the Thunderdome, John. Saberson sells Sims for DFS. Did you stream before winning BBM? Not. I actually had the thought of doing it. I was like, oh, maybe I'll just stream this stuff. I went on Pete's stream and taught him chess. And I also streamed chess for Chess Kid, which is part of chess.com. But I didn't stream best ball. Derrick saying best time to draft is Friday to Sunday night. But you sacrifice nightlife. Yeah, I mean, you get the people drinking, you get the people indulging in other things. You can get some wild folks in these rooms. Unfortunately, one change DraftKings made this year is it used to be if you miss 2 picks, you go on auto draft, which is a really nice quality of life thing. I don't know why, but they've changed it to if you miss, I think, 6 picks, you go on auto draft now. So drafts will be longer because of that. It's a bummer. You can see this one went all running backs. I mean, we're going to do Lamb again. Simply could be the wide receiver one in football. Love Puka too, but you're pretty high on Fields. I mean, I have him ranked amongst his peers. He definitely has bench risk, right? So he's probably not a good real life quarterback. He can also give you 40 fantasy points. Any late Jets pass catchers? Really only Mason Taylor. And Fields is a guy where do you even want him stacked? Yeah, we do 30-second clocks for streaming purposes. Mr. Grapefruit, you're saying they all draft the same guys early? Yeah, the back half feels like the best just because you can get 2 premier players. Obviously, the 101 is my favorite spot because I have long said Jamar Chase is the best wide receiver in football. People used to fight with me. Like Davis at least was being like, no, it's Justin Jefferson. No debate anymore. Yeah, this is a thought that worse drafters are drafting in 30-second draft rooms because they need more time. Drake London feels really nice. CMC definitely feels nice. Yeah, I mean, I would say like 2 of CMC plus, HN plus, Bowers plus feels really nice. I personally like London a lot just because, I mean, this is what we saw with Penix. 44 points, 21 and 11. Seems good to me. Well, okay. People used to argue with me that Chase is not the best wide receiver for fantasy, too. I was kind of hoping we would get Barkley as the 101, but not even the most staunch RB bros are doing that. I'll personally be doing most of my drafts at 20 seconds. I don't care about any perceived extra edge. I simply care about what's best for my life, you know? I have Gibbs ranked over Bijan. Barkley's a little bit more risky just because he's older, but I gave him the 102. I'll be taking Jefferson a lot at the 102. I also think Jefferson versus Lamb is a big discussion because Jefferson is obviously extremely talented, but CeeDee Lamb is competing with a bunch of Jags. Classic. We got the double elite quarterback. You know, when you see this, you never know. They could stop at 2. They could draft 6 quarterbacks. They could draft 4. You really have no idea. Chase Brown, mega draft winner. Feels good. Cade. Congrats on losing 10 pounds, brother. It's totally possible, Kobe. I was a big Keaton Mitchell guy. Thought he looked really good his rookie year. He's like, I guess, the insurance if Henry goes down. I don't think the Ravens drafted anyone high / at all, and they had a lot of picks. Justice Hill's still going to get some passing game work, but yeah, Mitchell seems worth mixing in for the upside. I definitely like on 30-second clocks on my phone, I can like scroll Twitter or whatever and still make my pick with plenty of time. 20 seconds, I'm like, oh, got to get in there. Okay, but it's not the individual 10 seconds, my friend. It's 10 seconds times 12. You know, it's basically like 20 minutes. Welcome to the Thunderdome. Yeah. We got CeeDee Lamb and Drake London and Chase Brown and Travis Hunter. Yeah. Howard Dean impression if you guys missed that. Going Breece Hall, totally defensible. Give you the 2 running backs, blah, blah. Mike Evans, good player, blah, blah. Travis Hunter, let's go. Howard Dean would have won if he said, Duval! Yeah, Laporta is a player who goes much higher on DraftKings consistently. You get it a little bit because it's PPR, but I mean, it's just kind of wild. He goes pick 70 on underdog, and I don't think this is his ADP. I think his ADP is like 30, and this guy's wilding out. But I mean, he's getting his team stacks, Lions and Bucks. Peppertoni saying 30 seconds equals max 108 minutes if everyone takes the max time. 20 seconds, max 72 minutes. I still like Jameson Williams. Hey, hands up. I like wide receivers who can score 40 points in a game. Do you view Travis Hunter just as high as in managed leagues? I think he's a little bit riskier in managed leagues, Isaac, as most players are, in the sense that it might be a little bit hard to know when to start him, but also if he's cheap enough, which he'll probably be cheaper in managed leagues because running backs are more expensive, you could be thinking from 2 week on, like this guy's a set and forget player. And yeah, typically I view players who are mega talented as like, I want them in both formats. I mean, yeah, there's going to be some chalk combos, and you're going to want some of them. For example, 2 years ago, the chalk combo was Amon-Ra and CeeDee Lamb. That also was the combo that won contest that year. And also, I'm going to want a lot of unique combos, right? Wow, Matthew Golden picked 64. So here's like the time to ask ourselves, like, are we just going to have to take 500 lottery tickets at running back? I don't know. We're taking Chris Godwin. We'll figure it out later. Judkins is maybe the prudent pick, but this guy averaged 20 fantasy points last year when healthy. The thing about Godwin is he might be a guy who we're getting the worst closing line value on right now. Cause this guy to absolutely panic and rip off Baker Mayfield. Taking Burrow at the 4-5 turn feels so dead because there will be plenty of 6-7 turn round Burrow teams. I mean, if you think about that, really all you need to have happen is a player at the 6-7 turn to outscore a player at the 4-5 turn, which seems possible. For example, you just need Juwan Jennings and Calvin Ridley to outscore Devonta Smith and Zay Flowers or whatever. Seems possible on a 1 week sample. Obviously, I prefer Burrow at the 6-7, but don't think 4-5 is dead. John, any quarterback that you stack, you're going to be competing with a lot of combos. I don't disagree with you that Burrow and Chase may be one of the most stacked combos. Classic. This guy gets Mahomes as his third quarterback. But it's also going to be very common to have Baker and Mike Evans, Baker and Godwin, right? Mahomes and Rice, Mahomes and Worthy, Josh Allen and Shakir, Josh Allen and Kincaid. Not every player is stacked enough. Why do I draft on both sites? Because they both have contests paying $2 million to first, and I've won on both sites. Aaron Jones feels like a solid second running back. I like Brian Robinson too. I had a much higher ranking on him, but I don't know. 7th round seems pretty bad. So a relatively logical room. This guy is just kind of getting his stacks, which honestly like looks crazy, but it's not as crazy as you think because all when you're going to reach for something, reaching for a stack I think is good because you're just creating a unique combo. Right? So it's like, okay, let's say other teams are taking Baker and Goff in the 8th and 9th. You simply need the 8th and 9th round players to outscore the 6th, 7 players. Kyle Williams is probably one of the most overdrafted players right now. No, I guess wide receiver isn't as deep in this room that I can pass on a guy like Reed. It's not really late for Reed Peppertoni. On DraftKings, that's his ADP. I'm not sure if you can base what will happen later based on an individual draft, let alone an individual draft on DK, which is a little bit more variant. I mean, Kyle Williams could be a league winner. That's how people are operating in the market, but he also could score 30 fantasy points. I mean, is there risk with Aaron Jones? Yes, but that's why he's here in the 7th round. So, still saw volume. I'll take 10 fantasy points. Yeah, I don't understand the Jaden Reed hate. I still like him, but hey. Let's take Warren here. Again, I'm not convinced Warren should even be going after Caleb Johnson. No, I will not. I probably won't be doing that, Deshaun. DFS. I'm primarily a best ball site, so that means from now until NFL season starts is the main time of the year, playoff best ball and preseason best ball. I mean, my site is so cheap; it's $100 for the year that I just can't. Maybe one day I'll make a DFS section of my site, but currently no. I wouldn't expect it. It's possible. Oh, I definitely like Jordan Mason, don't get me wrong, but that doesn't mean I hate Aaron Jones now. No, I think Warren is going to condense the tight end targets, but who knows how valuable that is. A 1-4-3-2. Not a build I would do, but hey, different strokes. All right, let's get a stack here. Love and Reed. We got Aaron Jones. We also have Jameson Williams. So we got some division opponents. Would you ever take Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason and just hope one smashes? Yeah, I'll handcuff. I'm willing to handcuff most running backs. In general, though, ones that are both relatively expensive are some of the combos I would not want to handcuff as much. Right? When Aaron Jones goes in the 7th and Jordan Mason goes in the 10th, like it's kind of relatively expensive for both, where I'd probably just want one on either team. But like taking RJ Harvey and then Jaleel McLaughlin in the 20th, like, why not? Taking DeAndre Swift and then Roshan very late, why not? Definitely hoping for that. Some dome teams. Jack Beck. I'm just not going to have a lot of Beck and Kyle Williams. 120. That's a no for me, dog. Is Jacoby Myers going to 0, folks? Is that like is that what people are saying? Is he being drafted for a story? Is it all Davis? Can it all be circled back to Davis's love for him? How crazy are these? Whatever. We're gonna go craft and hope one of our stacks falls to us. Craft and Love. Njoku, I like a lot, but obviously we're tie breaking there. I don't think it's crazy to have Bowers and GT high ranked. Yeah. So Dak goes. So there goes that dream. But we got other stacking options. That's why I was like, oh, am I going to take Kraft here? I love Kraft, though, so. Penix goes. Another one bites the dust. Yeah, I think Kyle Williams is an even worse pick than Beck. But hey, man, both of these guys could be stars. I don't know. That's not really how I play the game. I don't get in there and tell you this guy's Puka Nacua. Well, the thing to like about the Raiders is Chip Kelly's there. So you can pretty much guess that they're going to be near the league leaders in plays run, which is good for fantasy, right? In no universe should Jack Beck should be going like straight up over Bateman and Keon, let alone Mims. Yeah. The Donkeys did it to us, folks. I don't think we were going to get Trevor anyways because this guy had Brian Thomas Jr. But passing on Dak and Trevor, I thought I'd at least get Penix. I could go McCarthy, but Lord forgive me because I'm going back to the old me. Kincaid, come on down. I'll be right back, folks. So your guess is as good as mine. What I'm going to do at quarterback. Still some guys. Where are you taking Elijah Moore? Is this a serious question? Maybe in the 20th, 18th round, right? Like, dang, McCarthy would have been nice to go with Aaron Jones at least. Need to remind folks that like Chase Claypool got $5 million MVS. Maybe Elijah Moore becomes something. Maybe he is cut. Looking like 3 quarterbacks then? Oh, definitely. I just don't know if we're going to like our 3. I don't disagree. Kyle Williams is going to get a chance. Maybe he's really good, but dang, Geno goes. All right, so Bryce Young, at least you can backsack Bryce. And Bryce, to me, feels pretty much locked into the season. I don't think they're going to bench him again unless it's a disaster. And, you know, he finished the season kind of strong. In retrospect, maybe I should have gone Dak or Trevor and just taken another tight end there. Matt Harmon really likes Kyle Williams route running. I'm sure Matt Harmon is fantastic at this stuff, but no offense, that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to score fantasy points. He could be a league winner. Taking him because of that is worth it, but like Hollywood Brown, I know is scoring points. Cedric Tillman was like the wide receiver 5 in football for 3 weeks in a row. Romeo Doubs is probably the 3rd wide receiver on the Packers, assuredly. Adam Thielen even? We're going to take Thielen maybe. You know, he is going to – he scored average 15 fantasy points last year. So, I mean, I want to go Richardson, but I'm just not going to pass on Thielen, who Thielen goes higher on DraftKings. Like, I mean, we saw him go in the 10th last draft. Gotta get your stacks, folks. Adam Thielen winning me $2 million week 17. Clip it. Thielen is older than Canales. That's good, Rusty. That means that people have to show him, you know, Canales looks up to him. Didn't want to pass on Ray Davis either. Hunter Renfrow put out a really confusing quote earlier. I'll try to find it. He put out like, I'm in a lot of pain. I didn't want to play football or something. And I don't know if like, I don't know. Let me try to find this. I get maybe the guy misput the quote. Yeah, I mean, Kendrick Bourne, Kayshon Boutte, Polk, Baker, like 2 mules. I would believe anything right now. And honestly, anything is possible. It is possible Kendrick Bourne, healed up, a full year removed from the ACL, is the unquestioned wide receiver 2. It is possible. Okay, Javon Baker got cut. Hands up. Didn't know that one. Okay, we're going Richardson for sure. We would have liked Legette for the stack, but feels like a luxury to pass on a quarterback who I need a third quarterback. I'm not, the bench risk, whatever. He's a good fantasy quarterback as long as he starts. Even if he just helps get me there, that's fine. Bourne got cut? I don't think Bourne got cut, but let me pull it up. Douglas, yeah. Douglas, like how target, but Douglas is probably the wide receiver 2. I mean, what I'm looking at, Bourne and Baker have not been cut. So I don't know where you're getting your information from, but they're on the depth chart according to me. Mike Clay's projections also have Kendrick Bourne and Baker in them. So, yeah. Just, no offense to Rusty here, but just an example of how you can't take everything you read on the internet, let alone a YouTube chat comment as fact, because false news. Those guys were not cut. My computer's having an issue. I think we're back, folks. Sorry about that, but does Matt Collins deserve some consideration? Like, to me, definitely not, man. Josh Allen made Matt Collins a success at times, but I don't think he's a good fantasy click. I definitely like DK and Pickens. Yeah, someone asked me about the Steelers quarterbacks earlier. Like, I think it's going to be Aaron Rodgers. All right, we got 5 picks left to try to save this. Legette goes, so we're freed from that. We need some more running backs in the room. Let's go J.K. Dobbins. If he signs, he's going up in price. Let's see. Lamb, London, Hunter, Jamo, Godwin, Reed, Thielen. I honestly, I could stop at 2 tight ends and just take 4 more running back darts. A 3-8-7-2. I could tack on another wide receiver with Godwin questions. Thoughts on QJ with the Chargers? I don't think Quentin Johnston is good at football. I don't think it's a good sign they drafted Trey Harris for him. It's possible he is behind Mike Williams as well. I still think he's worth drafting when you have Herbert because he's pretty cheap. There's some chance he develops as well. Jaden Blue, he's an example of a Kyle Williams that I'm okay drafting because he could be the RB1 of the Cowboys. I don't know. But, a lot of those questions can be answered by just looking at my ranks. Do me a favor, folks. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. If you're not in the Discord, join it. Links below. Yeah, he said, I don't feel well, but I don't want to play football again. I don't want to let people down. And that's where I think they misquoted. Don't you think you would say, I know I don't feel well, but I want to play football again? I think underdog did it wrong there, but I don't know. That doesn't make sense. I don't feel well, and I don't want to play football again. Why'd you sign with the team then? I mean, I would power rank them pretty high for Chubb or Dobbins. Certainly higher than the Bears. Taysom Hill. Love Taysom. Wish him well. I think this is a great time to take Jerome forward. Totally possible he just opens the year starting. If not, I would think he opens the year as the RB2. There's risk he loses it to Samson, but Samson a 4th round pick. You must not have been drafting. Amari Cooper lives in the late rounds. Amari Cooper goes undrafted occasionally. It's a little thin to stop at 2 with Kraft and Kincaid, so maybe I'll chuck a 3rd on, but I see the vision of stopping there. I guess I'm good enough at running back that I can tack on a 3rd tight end. Stop at 7 wide receivers with me having 5 through round 6 and tack on 2 running backs. Yeah, I mean, DJ Giddens is probably the RB2, but it could be Khalil Herbert. He's a 5th round rookie. And no, pass catching value is not really a thing in the Colts for the running back. No offense, John, but you're not entitled to any players. I'm sure he was just trying to draft a 3rd quarterback who he thought would be starting. Yeah, dump offs just don't happen a lot in Indy, Maybe I should have done Sanders instead of Theo. I just like Theo a little bit more. Yeah, I should be breaking the tie towards Bryce Young for the stack, but Theo Johnson, starter tight end on the Giants. Don't know what that's worth, but should give some weeks. This guy's a 3.852. Worthy, Flowers, Jennings, Pickens, Quentin Johnston, classic. Bijan, Javonte and Jaden, Garendo Ray Davis, Neal, Roshan, and Monagi, who they took in the 7th round. Evan, we don't whisper that name anymore, Kobe's. Thank God I can't burn picks on him anymore. Go another running back, friend. Come on, Gopher. 2-2. Okay, get another wide receiver. I mean, the team is not it's not optimal. It's not that you see the vision a little bit. It's hard to draft a purely dead team on arrival. I don't think this team is purely dead. Wow. Rough group here, huh? All right. Let's do Zach Moss this time. I prefer Moss over 6th-round rookie Taj Brooks. So we're doubling up with Chase Brown and Moss. But, when healthy, Moss played. Had some weeks. Oh, I like Lloyd. Maybe this is a Keaton Mitchell team, Kobe's. Maybe, we like to do that. When people in the chat ask about a player, we like to mix them in. I'm slamming Keaton if he's there. So, like the other team, on paper more, but hey, on paper doesn't always win. I know, man. Kincaid at this ADP is insane. Like, if he's not injured, he's just a nice value. But, Ferguson's a nice value too. Goddard's a nice value. I see a lot of scenarios, my friend. I don't know. Is Keaton gone? Here's our guy. He's right there. Miles Sanders. Maybe he got some stem cell. I know people. People who tweet about Kincaid are just trying to tweet at me. Understand that. And it's going to be really rich if he has a good year. What's up? Become a YouTube member. Like, who hames? Ken Walker, perfectly reasonable guy to draft. Has some risk, but I like him. Always has mega single week upside. The truth is, Hartman, even the haters know that. All right, Keaton Mitchell. What's 1 more 0, right? Lamb, London, Chase Brown, Hunter, Jameson, Godwin, Aaron Jones, Jaden Reed, Warren, Jordan Love, Kraft, Kincaid, Bryce Young, and Thielen, Richardson, J.K. Dobbins, Jerome Ford, Theo Johnson, Zach Moss, and Keaton Mitchell. A 3-7-7-3 fun squad. That's what I got for you today, ladies and gentlemen. Not sure if I'll stream tomorrow. Might be going to a chess tournament. Be sure to like and subscribe. I do have fresh rankings over at beatbestball.com. $100 a year for your rankings and strategy articles. Best deal in fantasy. Join the Discord, links below, and I'll be back next week. He's got a chance, yes. Definitely has a chance. But Zach Moss, we've seen play in the NFL, and he's not a 6th-round rookie. Peace out.